How's it going, party people? Skydubs here, back again with another legit game review. Today we are taking a look at probably the spiciest game in the series, and obviously it's Skylanders Superchargers. Now we all know the story by now. This game is quite polarizing with the audience. I've seen people call it the best game in the series, and I've seen people call it the worst game in the series. However, I do feel like there are more people that dislike this game than there are fans. So today I'll be giving my thoughts about this, as at the time I've started this playthrough, I honestly had no concrete opinion about really anything in this game. In fact, it's by far my least played Skylanders game on the console. I've only done one single playthrough of this game in my entire life, which is actually shocking. So, because of that fact, going into this, there were so many things I didn't even know about this game, or at least I didn't really look into it, so I'm excited to talk about it all, as it kinda did feel like a completely new experience, even though I already knew about the levels and the story. So, let's just jump into it. Skylanders Superchargers was released in 2015, and at this point Activision was already kinda giving up on Skylanders, so that's definitely good going into yet another game with rushed development. As always, we have a new and very interesting gimmick. This time, it's vehicles. There are three kind of elements, but not really elements, like there are still the same 10 elements for Skylanders, and all of them have one new supercharger and one old Skylander that's had a complete change of their moveset and became a supercharger. Only the light and dark elements don't have older Skylanders. But when it comes to vehicles, there are three types: land, sky, and sea vehicles. And I don't think it's necessary to explain what each type can do. You guys aren't idiots. There are 8 land vehicles from the fire, tech, undead, and earth element, 5 sky vehicles from the air, light, and life element, and 5 sea vehicles from the magic, dark, and water elements. The vehicle figures are kinda cool cause some of them are like actual vehicle toys that kids can play with, but some others aren't. But I still appreciate the dedication to make them cooler in real life. When it comes to actual gameplay though, I got a lot to say. Now there is racing and there is combat with the vehicles, and I will talk about racing later in the video, but now I immediately have to get the combat off my chest. It sucks. Like, it's actually horrible. Apart from the sky vehicles, the combat there is actually good, but the land and sea vehicles, I can't stand them. You can say that I'm bad or whatever, but you die easily, and for a vehicle that's main purpose is movement, I really just don't feel that free when it comes to moving. Like, I can't pinpoint the problem, but it just feels so wrong to move with these vehicles, and 50% of the attacks from the enemies are pretty impossible to avoid. Some of these enemies are the bane of my existence, and even some boss fights just have attacks that I have no idea how to avoid without using vehicles with shields, which is just great. And attacking is way too simple. You just spam attacks and they all lock onto enemies, so there is nothing complex here. I know Skylanders combat isn't complex in general, but it's still much better than with vehicles. I mean, you only have 2 attacks, and with a lot of vehicles you're just going to end up using the main attacks, because the other attack is not that useful when it comes to certain vehicles. Not to mention that there aren't any real upgrades that add to your moveset, which is already bare bones enough. You only get 5 upgrades that improve your armor, and 5 that improve the damage you deal, and that's it. It's kind of the same problem I had with the villains in Trap Team. They do have these vehicle mods that change the appearance and stats of your vehicle, and I like them honestly. Each vehicle has 12 vehicle mods, although 4 of those 12 only change the sound you make when you honk, which is pretty pointless. I didn't even realize you could honk in my entire playthrough. Only while racing I did it on accident, and I unlocked a fucking trophy as well. The other 8 mods are fine though, and they all bring different stats, so you can choose them based on looks, or based on what department you want your vehicle to be the best in. As I said, the sky vehicle combat is pretty decent. Sometimes it works exactly like Sky Highlands from Trap Team, but you can also get some actually memorable boss fights as well, so that's cool. The second attack is actually useful on all of the vehicles as well, so you love to see it. For every new vehicle, we also have a new supercharger. Well, I guess not entirely new, 8 of them are old Skylanders, but they are completely rebooted. None of that repos bullshit. They have new designs and completely new movesets, and I actually really dig this concept. Though this makes me hate all of the old reposes because of how well it's done. We also have 10 completely new Superchargers, and I do like that this is the smallest roster because it feels focused on what it's trying to achieve. The problem I have is that there are so many vehicle sections that you just don't have enough time to use the Skylanders. The gameplay with them feels very short, so none of these Skylanders even become memorable. Also, Astroblast is a strong contender for the worst Skylander of all time, and Nightfall is mid, so the light and dark elements have been done dirty. My favorites are Spitfire, Stormblade, and Lava Lance Eruptor, and I guess you can argue that this is the weakest roster, but I don't really mind it that much. We anyways already have 100 Skylanders from previous games that you can still use, so who really cares at the end of the day? If you play as the Supercharger and their vehicle at the same time, you become Supercharged, and both your vehicle and Skylander become better, and I like this. I mean, I played the entire game only being Supercharged, even though when you die in a vehicle, the vehicle still stays alive, so you don't need to change it, but I still wanted to stay Supercharged, so I would always change it. Now we can finally start the save file. As always, Nightmare mode, which is already unlocked. You don't need to first beat the game like in previous games, so I decided to start a new save file on a completely different account and do everything there from scratch, which you will see later in the video wasn't the smartest idea. First cutscene in the game goes hard as hell. We get Chaos mocking Eon's usual introduction.
Portal Master, welcome to Skylands, a magical world of wonder and adventure.
And this is finally something new and original, so I'm all for it. It seems like while we were gone, Chaos conquered Skylands completely and is now trying to eat its entire existence, the fat fuck. I also love that we get the SSA ad from 2011, cause that's what got me into Skylanders and it will forever be hype as hell. Chaos has trapped Eon in Traptanium, and Hugo, Flynn, and Callie are all captured, and he controls all portals now and destroys the connection between our portal and Skylands. So yeah, Skylands is dead. But since we mentioned Traptanium, what happened in between Trapteam and this game? I mean, Chaos was literally trapped. How the hell did he escape? And why is that just not mentioned anywhere? It's just lazy, just like it was in Trapteam. Also, what the hell happened to Chaos and Eon? Their designs are really ugly. Chaos has the eyes of a heroin addict, and Eon just looks worse. Kinda like Santa Claus with that red nose. The other designs, they are fine though, nothing to complain about there. Even though Chaos thought he could banish us, our boy Hugo comes up with a master plan and brings us back for a rift, and I really like this entire intro. I think they put a lot of effort into making it actually feel like you're returning to Skylands with all the sound effects and Hugo, Callie, and Flynn talking while you get the first vehicle section of the game, which is just driving through this rift. It's nothing special, but I gotta say, the music here is in debate for the best Skylanders music of all time. It's so good, man. I thought the main theme here went hard, but this has gotta be my favorite in this game. After that, we see Hugo begging us to save them, and then Count Moneybone is brought back. That's so cool. He was such a cool villain in Swap Force on the 3DS. I am so glad he's actually in a main console game as well. He has those Cortex 2D visuals from the Insane trilogy and doesn't really say anything important, so let's just start. The gameplay is the same as always. It's much more similar to Swap Force than Trapteam, which is not great in my opinion, but it's fine. I just prefer Trapteam. This is where we get our first treasure chest, and they have a complete redesign and they work in a new way. It's completely randomized what you get. You can get hats, Sky Stones, Winged Sapphires, Soul Gems, and Legendary Treasures, and it's different for every player. It doesn't have a certain order in which you get collectibles like previous games. You can get almost anything in any order. There's only a certain number of collectibles that you get by playing Sky Stones or doing quests. The rest can all be found in these chests. Also, these are the only real collectibles in the levels. If you look at the level map, the only collectible is the treasure chest and the vehicle stars. We get a fight against the King Champy, and then we rescue our boys and Callie. Also, there's another new thing here, that being this Pinata, which can be found often throughout the entire game, and you just beat it up and it gives you XP, Stardust for your Portal Master rank, gold or gear bits, and it always gives you a ton of food as well, so that's always appreciated. Then we get introduced to yet another new variant of the puzzle lock. This one is probably the most annoying out of them all. It's like they made them really fun and quick in Trap Team, and then they decided to do the opposite here. You can collect the free sparks just like in Swap Force, and that will give you Stardust. And there are also these incredibly annoying things that just push you around the entire place, and it just really reminds me of those traumatic experiences I had in spin swap zones, so I don't like it. Next we get Eon telling us that the darkness has returned. For fuck's sakes, I thought we got rid of it like 4 years ago, and apparently Chaos has used its power this time to build the Sky Eater, which will destroy Skylands completely. I honestly love the whole apocalypse feeling they're giving us. It's really good. Though I don't like how soft Hugo is. I don't know, it's just kind of disturbing. At least we have Flynn, who isn't as soft as everybody else in the game, so that's great. After this we get a treasure chest, but like the normal version, and this isn't a collectible really, but it still gives you stuff that you need to collect, so that's fine by me. The same also happens with those presents. They act the same way, and you have an infinite supply of them and treasure chests and levels if you need to farm hats. Now we get introduced to the vehicle combat, and I've already said what I think about it. It sucks. And then we rescue these sharks, and we are introduced to vehicle mods. You get them in vehicle sections in levels from these toolboxes, and you get them for winning races and supercharging vehicles as well. There are 162 of them to collect, and it's quite easy to do. They can also work as soul gems for vehicles, but I forgot to watch them most of the time if I'm being honest. After the Land Star, we drop off into this cool looking area, and then we get the Sea Star with a random James Bond reference.
Name's Braun. James Braun.
And the Sea Star is just okay, I guess. I like the parts where you're constantly moving and going fast, but these open areas are kinda boring to me, so it's nothing special. Then we get introduced to a new version of Sky Stones. Man, this level has a lot of stuff going on. Anyways, it's called Sky Stones Overdrive, and it's a better version of the Trap Team Sky Stones. It functions the same way, but there's a lot more Sky Stones here, and they have new interesting special abilities, and the NPCs aren't complete idiots. Some of them can definitely at least challenge you instead of just bending over like in previous games. Every NPC that you can beat in Sky Stones will give you a special Sky Stone that can't be found anywhere else. So this time, you actually have an incentive to play instead of just avoiding everybody like I did in Trap Team. Then at the end of the level, we get the Sky Star, where you have to save the rescue pods and protect Sharpfin's ship, and this was pretty good. You even get the first boss fight. Kinda. I mean, it has the boss fight health bar, so I guess it is a boss fight, but yeah, it's nothing special, just the canyon ship of doom. And it's nice to see that we haven't stopped with the appalling names, but yeah, it's a bad boss fight, and that's it for the level. I mean, it's okay. Realistically, the story carries it. The gameplay isn't that interesting, so 5 out of 10 is pretty fair. Glumshanks is back, and his chemistry with Chaos is as good as always. We also get some Count Moneybone dialogue, though he has just turned into Chaos' slave, so that's a shame, but it's still nice to see him. We take the ship we stole to the Skylanders Academy, which is our hub area in this game as well, and I'm fine with that. I don't think it's as cool as it was in Trap Team. In fact, it's a lot smaller, but at least every area has a purpose, so it's still good. Buzz and Mags are back as well. I don't have much to say about them. They are just here. Also, can somebody please explain to me how the hell is the Core of Light in the Skylanders Academy? That just pisses me off. I didn't spend all that time and effort rebuilding it in the ruins just for it to get moved to here, and not only that, but it looks lame. What happened to that whole cool look it had? It was much better than this. I know, this is the way it looked in the SSA cutscene at the start of the game, but still, that core of light was destroyed. Listen, I know it's weird I'm complaining this much, but the core of light is a very sensitive topic for me. I even built the thing in Minecraft, so yeah, I care about this stuff. Anyways, we meet a new character called Grizzo. He's agreeable, that lets us do the elemental gates, which are still in levels, but you can also access them through the academy, so I'll talk about them later. We have another new feature with the wishing well. During levels or quests or even here in the academy, you can find a bunch of these wish stones that you can then throw into this well, and it works exactly the same as the treasure chests because you just get random collectibles, so this is another easy way of farming stuff. You can get them from winning races as well, and you will probably end up getting hundreds of them during your playthrough. You can also place your legendary treasures in the academy, which is pretty cool. You can play football.
Here's Hog! DD!
Have Skylanders toys, get food, get gold, get a puzzle lock, and so on. It's nothing special, but I still think it's a decent feature. We meet another new character called Pendergast, and he brings us the entire racing experience, and as I said, we are not doing that currently, so he isn't important right now. I also find him quite annoying, so let's just leave. I mean, who the hell calls themselves the hoopla of all hucksters? This robot does nothing if you aren't signed into the PlayStation Network, so I'll just ignore him, I guess. Another new thing in the academy are these test areas where you can see what your vehicles are capable of and get some gear bits, but there is literally nothing happening in these, so don't even bother. Buzz made a agreeable dispenser where you can train your Skylanders, but this is boring as well. And the last new thing for now are these Supercharger challenges, but that's just more bonus content that we will talk about later. Persephone is back and she's once again here to give us upgrades, and just like in Trap Team, she shows up during levels, so that's cool as well. You can't upgrade your vehicle here though, you do that in the pit stop where Sharpfin's crew that we rescued upgrades our vehicles, and only Superchargers can upgrade vehicles. Our next goal is to find Eon, and our plan is to use a dragon's sniffing ability on Eon's sock. Yeah, it's been one level and we are already back on that same old goofy and silly shit. I really should have expected it. It is a Skylanders game at the end of the day. I just thought it would be more serious after a level like that. Now we are off to the Cloud Breather's Crag, and straight from the bat, wow, this level looks good. One of the best looking levels in the franchise in my opinion. I like the NPCs here as well. They all have funny dialogue, making fun of being forced to serve chaos.
For no obvious treasonous reason, because we are definitely not staging a revolution, I will tell you that you must ring the summoning gong to wake the dragon if you want to speak with him. And also save us.
And I like these gong areas. You can unlock new areas by hitting the gongs in a certain order, so that's nice. And then comes the Land Star, which is decent, and we hit the giant gong and wake the dragon up. Then almost immediately after that, we get a Sea Star. This is another version of the sea sections where you get these narrow tunnels you go through in these 2D areas, and these are horrible. Definitely my least favorite vehicle sections in the entire game. Everything is so slow, and as I already said, there is a problem with the amount of freedom you have with some of these vehicles, and this just enhances that problem. I mean, it just feels claustrophobic as shit, and I hate it. Anyways, we just destroyed these chaos things, and that's it. One cool thing is that you don't need to do air or sea stars to beat the game, but by doing them, you unlock new areas like here where we get to place sky stones once we're done with the sea section. There is this weird minigame with a sheep on a kite. You don't get anything for doing it, it's very confusing and I don't understand the point of it, but alright. Now this is a good vehicle section. I really like this one because of the set piece. I mean, we are driving on flying ships and a dragon. Now that's amazing. I always love it when I do a puzzle lock and immediately die after it. Anyways, this area on a dragon is really nice and we get a Sky Star, which is decent enough. Now we are introduced to the first supercharger area. You have the portal that can only be activated with a supercharger, and it unlocks a new area that contains a chest. They are nothing special, but at least it's some more gameplay with Skylanders and not vehicles, so it's fine by me. Honestly, there's too much time spent with the vehicles when compared to actual Skylander gameplay, which is a shame. And at the end of the level, we get this small fight. Pretty underwhelming if I'm being honest. I was hoping for a boss or something. And then that's the end of the level. It is an amazing level, one of Skylanders' best, and it rightfully so gets a 10 out of 10. Now the dragon sniffs the sock, and we find out that Eon is trapped in the land of the undead. This made me slightly uncomfortable, and I don't want to talk about it. These guys do some yapping about Jillian Thunderbolts and other stuff that makes no sense, so in short, we have to find some really powerful staff called Thunder's Bolt that will improve our engine and help us reach the land of the undead. And we ask Queen Cumulus, okay, that is a pretty funny name. Anyways, we ask her to give us the staff, and we apparently just need to show up at the Cloud Kingdom and pick it up. But when we arrive there, Lord Stratosphere doesn't want to give it to us because Chaos promised him security or something like that, so now we have to fight him. He created this fog that covers most of the level. I feel like the fog could have been utilized in a better way, it just doesn't really have an effect on anything, and these random horns that give us a small dialogue between random NPCs are also pretty irrelevant to the level. I like the way the level looks, and it's a pretty cool tribute to Lightning Rod. Now we have the Sky Star. It's painfully boring if I'm being honest. And hey! The light beam puzzles are back. It wouldn't be a Skylanders game without them. Then we get the land vehicle section, and there is not much going on here. It's quite dull, with the only memorable part unfortunately being ringing these bells. I do like this sort of town area or whatever it is, but you barely get any time here before yet another vehicle section. But at least I really like this part, and then we even get a boss fight at the end of the vehicle section. I mean, if you can even call this a boss fight, but again, it has a health bar, so it technically is a boss fight. It's not even like the worst, I'd say it's just mid. So yeah, I do like this vehicle section. And then after that, at the end of the level, we get the Stratosphere boss fight, and it's in a vehicle, which I get it, it's the main gimmick of the game, but come on, who wants vehicle boss fights? It doesn't even make much sense to me that we are in a land vehicle. I get that it's in the starter pack, but surely you'd want to encourage people to buy other stuff, and this is the fucking Cloud Kingdom. It would make sense if we were using the sky vehicles against a flying vehicle. It's just all kind of brain dead, but alright. The boss fight is just fine. I'd dare to say mid again. He has this cloud attack, these orbs that are annoying as hell, these red barrels, and he also spawns enemies. That's pretty much it. I am happy that I did it without dying, considering I was on my deathbed for quite some time. And this level gets a 7 out of 10. It really needed more regular Skylanders gameplay and a better boss fight, and it would have been an amazing level, but it's still good. In the Academy, we have this new place where you can play Sky Stones, and the music is back as well, so that's dope. Although, can somebody explain why Ryan has a comma or whatever it's called in his name? Please tell me if you know, I'd appreciate it. At this point, I got my first Chaos Diary, and these are like longer versions of Flint's story scrolls from Trap Team. They are fine, but nothing more. I didn't really find them memorable at all, and I don't feel like I've learned anything special about Chaos, apart from that cool part where they mentioned Conquertron. That was a nice throwback, but you still need to collect 10 of them, so there's that. Now it's time for the Land of the Undead, and I'm excited, especially because of the intro cutscene. I really love it. Obviously, that's because Count Moneybone is a great character, and I like that it's like a sort of advertisement, but it's not quite like Flint thought.
This place looks nothing like the brochure. Someone should talk to this Moneybone fella about integrity in advertising.
But I don't know, the level just looks dull and dead. Obviously, that is kind of the point, because it's a prison and it's undead, but still, I don't really like the level design here. And speaking of things I dislike, Softpaw is back. Y'all know I didn't mess with Softpaw back in my Swap Force days. He's everywhere in this level and he's very annoying and I hate him. I think they did change his voice actor so he no longer sounds obnoxious, which is great, but his animations still trigger me. He looks like he's constantly having an epileptic attack, yet he's supposed to be the silent and calm spy. Never made sense to me, but alright. The main gimmick here is that you can change gravity. You go through these portals and you end up on an upside down or sideways platform. There's also a bunch of bomb puzzles here. The bomb has been changed to a barrel that leaves a trail that later explodes once the bomb is placed or the timer runs out. I like the bomb in this game, it's more reliable than in Trap Team for sure. But yeah, the gravity gimmick is decent, but nothing special again. The Land Star, it's quite boring, it's just an empty hallway between two parts of the level, and then the end is pretty much the same as the rest of the level. You play as your Skylander, change gravity, take the bomb, and explode. That's kind of it, that's kind of the entire level. The only variety comes from vehicle sections, and the Sky Star is boring as hell and lasts an eternity. You'd think that helping a jailbreak by shooting at flying ships would be more interesting than this, but nah, it's completely dead. The Sea Star as well, it's despicably horrible. This level is in contention for having the worst vehicle sections, cause this ain't it. I somehow survived the Sea Star, but don't get it twisted, this is one of the most frustrating things I've ever done. I can't stand this at all, so as you can tell, I don't really like anything about this level, but we still have the Count Moneybone fight to save it. The fight is in a vehicle, which automatically means the potential is wasted. It uses the same gravity gimmick, and it's quite annoying just like the rest of the level. The first attack is fine, I died to it many times, but that's because I'm an idiot. Then he has this attack which deals a lot of damage if you don't leave the area, and then all portals will be closed for a short amount of time, and he will shoot lasers at you, but that's all fine. My problem is when he starts spawning these pieces of shit halfway through the boss fight. I have no clue how to avoid these things, and they just suck all the enjoyment out of the boss fight, just like they suck all my health out of my Skylanders. I'm just not a fan of anything in this level, and this fight is very disappointing as well. And once we defeat Moneybone, Eon is free, and that's it. This level gets a 0 out of 10. I hate it. I'd place it even lower on my all-time list if I could go back. We get another great cutscene with the Darkness saying his first words and Count Moneybone getting left undelivered.
Now that you mention it.
Serves him right for making me play for that diabolical level. But yeah, this is a very interesting part of the story as we see Glumshanks is becoming terrified of the Darkness is becoming some sort of creature that can talk now, and we already see the Darkness is fully focused on himself as he wants to conquer the universe, and he's already disregarding Chaos. He just needs Chaos to help him become stronger by feeding him magic, and Chaos is obviously a complete dumbass. But I'm glad we are finally seeing characters show actual personality traits in these games. That wasn't seen often in the past, they were all there just to maybe force a laugh out of you, but that's it, whereas this stuff is actually really interesting. And back in our place we have freed Eon, but I'm sorry, I was told only Trap Masters could break Traptanium. What kind of canyon bullshit is this? Anyways, Eon tells us that we need to find out more information about defeating the Darkness, which means that he doesn't have a single clue how to defeat the Darkness, so yeah, thanks a lot for that, Santa. But we do find that information in the Spellpunk library, but first we need Spell Slamzer's help to get there, but he will only help us if we beat him up in Battle Brawl Island, so that's where we are headed next.
Welcome to Battle Brawl, Skylander. Never seen you around here before.
Oh god. Crab people, my biggest enemy.
Take your time, it's a profound
Crab people. Anything but crab people. Yes, I hate crab people.
We need to wake up the lift operator, so we just take this potion and throw it on him, so that's simple. But you do have this small area that you can explore a little. You can change the element power up to align with your current element for 25 gold, which is cool. We have our boys spectating the arena battles. Persephone is here if you want to upgrade before you start fighting, and you can play Sky Stones. Also, you can buy these potions that increase armor or experience or gold gains, but I didn't have enough gold to get them. Anyways, that's it for that area, and then we go into the arena battle. Baron Von Shellshock is back, so that's great. And we need to defeat Spell Slamzer, but in order to fight him, we need to beat 2 boss fights first. The first fight is a 2v1 against Fired Up Frontman and Percussion Pounder. I mean, these two are just slightly different versions of Fire and Earth Golems from Swap Force, but I do like this fight. You first fight Percussion Pounder, then fired up frontman, and then both of them at the end, all the while rocks and fire are flying all over the arena, and it's one of the best ones in the game. No joke. And it's become quite famous in the Skylanders community for having the hardest boss music ever. The second fight is against Captain Bristlestash, and he sucks. He has one attack and that's it. Very disappointing. And now we get to fight Spellslamzer. His design is cool as hell, I must admit, and he starts the fight by spawning Spellpunks, and then literally after 50 seconds, he just fucking sends you to a different dimension, saying, if you can't beat him, cheat. This is confusing as hell, cause I've barely done any damage to him, but alright. I anyways think this area is cool, so I don't mind it. And once we kill some more Spellpunks and slap Spellslamzer around, he sends us back to the arena, and the end of the fight is more of the same, and yeah, it's a pretty solid fight, and once again, one of the best in the game. And that's it for the level. One of the shortest console Skylanders levels with only a couple of areas, but it's still a decent level. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. After the level, Shellshock insults us in German, and Spellslamzer tells us we will need to do more than just read the books to find information, and that's it.
Well, I'm sure glad to be rid of that creep. Gave me the heebies and the jeebies in large quantities, if you follow.
I have never heard anybody say, give me the heebies and jeebies. Sharpfin, you have lost all my respect. Also now the shop is unlocked. Here you can buy collectibles, the same ones you get from the well and the chests, so this is just something to make your completion easier, and that's always welcomed by me. Now it's time for Spellpunk Library.
You know, I gotta admit that first chapter really pulls you in.
Okay, that was funny, I'll give it to them. This level is about exploring this quite small area, but there are these books that you can enter, and then you get these 2D areas, which is pretty much where all the stuff in this level happens. The goal is to complete 5 books that will give us more information about the darkness and how we need to defeat it. As for the library, the exploration doesn't take too long, you just watch out for some of these books on the floor, cause you can enter them as well, and they have treasure chests in them, so try not to be a dumbass and miss them like I did on my first playthrough. I must say that I really like the way this level looks, and it's very creative with the whole theme. Going through books, and as we play the story is told to us, that's great. But the gameplay just doesn't work in my opinion. The 2D parts where you play as Skylanders inside of the books are just bad. Skylanders aren't that good at platforming in general, and in this game you take additional damage from falling down a hole, so this is just an agony. And I like that you can bounce on top of enemies, but these Spellpunks are so annoying. It's so annoying to avoid these attacks, I can't even begin to explain how much they piss me off. They're just unfathomable, so automatically half of the level is already not that fun in my opinion, even though again it does look amazing. But yeah, after the first book, we get the Sky Star. Now this one is interesting as it's designed like those old shooting games, but even though that it again looks cool, it's also again quite bad. I'm sorry, I really don't enjoy this. I just feel like they didn't design it properly. Like I genuinely don't understand how I'm even supposed to hit these ships in some situations, so because of that, I didn't even destroy most of these ships that were attacking me, and that problem made this Darkness Command Ship boss fight very painful. You seriously have barely any room to hit the thing, so that means that this boss fight lasts an eternity, so I just don't like this entire Sky Star section. After that, we get another 2D book, this one being even more painful than the previous books, and after that, we get a Sea Star. Now this one is actually interesting as we get an entire section dedicated to my beautiful Hydra from Spyro's Adventure. We are supposed to take the food from the Hydra and escape the sea with the food. I know I've said that I dislike the 2D sea vehicle sections, but this one is acceptable because of the Hydra, so I'll give it a pass. It's unfortunate that once again we don't get to fight it, but I anyways would probably not even enjoy the boss fight in a sea vehicle, so I won't complain. The final book is the land vehicle section, and it's just boring. That's all I can say, as you just go forward, shoot, and avoid the attacks from the darkness, and that's literally it. And all that we find out from these books is that there is some secret about the core of light that we need to use against the darkness. So yeah, this level is a lot more disappointing than I remember, and I'd give it a 5 out of 10 unfortunately. Now our next mission is to find the author of the book, because he probably knows the secret thing that will turn the core of light into a weapon against the darkness, and that is Pomfrey Lefuzzbottom. Interesting name, and also Tessa just comes out of nowhere and dies. Nah, I'm kidding, she's fine. Anyways, Hugo found out that Fuzzbottom is located in Gadfly Glades, so that's our next stop. When we arrive there, we meet this psycho who collects rare items in Skylands, and Fuzzbottom is also in her collection, but she won't just give him to us. She makes a deal with Flynn that if we win some kind of race, we get Pomfrey, but if we lose, she gets the Skylander, and Flynn, being the bumbling buffoon that he is, accepts the deal, not knowing she's about to shrink us to the size of a bug, and now we are screwed. So yeah, as you can tell, this level is about being extremely small, and I love it. It gives us some cool set pieces and level design, and obviously the enemies here are bugs, coins are much bigger, mushrooms are bounce pads, flowers are platforms we hop on, and so on. You get the point. I like the level. There is this random sea section near the start to explore. It's fine, I don't really see the point, but I don't mind it. And then we get the first land vehicle section, and again, it's fine. I like the area we are in, so that automatically makes it decent, and also I like that the Psycho is a constant obstacle throughout the level, just like here, where she's constantly trying to stomp on us. Although these enemies are annoying as hell, as always, so that's something I dislike about this section. The Sea Star is fine too. There is no combat and no 2D sections, so that's fine by me, even though I would have liked one of those fast-paced sections, but it's fine. As I've said, you just rescue 5 of these Twitter pillars and that's it. After some Skylanders gameplay that's quite enjoyable, we get another land section, and I like it a lot because, as I've said, the set pieces are really good. I mean, we are flying over a sheep. That's great. We even fight the Bee King, and even though he is tanky, I still like him. After that we get to this flower area that looks amazing, and after some more Skylanders gameplay, we get the Sky Star, and I really like it. We fly around this garden shutting off the water that's causing a flood. That's actually genius. I love it, and the section is fun to do as well. And at the end of the level we get the final land vehicle section, and it's more of what we've already seen, and it's decent again. And that's it for the level. This level has some really solid vehicle sections, and the rest of the level is amazing, so it gets a 10 out of 10. Now this is the stuff that pisses me off. I didn't even realize this up to this point, but bro is tiny as hell. So tiny that he can fucking escape the cage himself. They could have at least put glass on the cage so that it's at least slightly logical, but nah. Let's make something that makes no sense at all instead. Great. The next cutscene we get is amazing though. Again, it's about Chaos choosing whether to listen to Glumshanks or the Darkness, because the Darkness is not so happy about the fact we are about to use the Core of Light as a weapon to defeat him, but Glumshanks asks a good question. If they destroy everything, what is there to rule over? And after that, Chaos shows the slight consciousness as he questions the plan for the first time, but the Darkness quickly manipulates him into turning on Glumshanks, and Glumshanks gets fired. Fair play to the writers, they actually got me invested in this a lot. We find out that in order to defeat the Darkness, we need the Eye of the Ancients, and then Glumshanks just shows up out of nowhere. Buzz thinks that Glumshanks is Chaos' spy, but Max defends him, and we even get a peace offering from him.
Thanks. I even brought this peace offering.
A chaos punching bag. That is pretty funny, fair enough. And as soon as Buzz sees the punching bag, he is satisfied and leaves him alone. Now, the Eye of the Ancients is currently under the possession of Titans, so in order to become their size, we need the Colossal Colonel from Captain Clock's Chicken HQ, and that's right, Clock is back, and y'all know I'm a huge fan of his, so I'm excited. How can you even not love Clock when this level starts by him planning a revolution with chickens?
We better get your squawking mattress into the air.
Squawking mattress, what? Why is Superchargers kinda funny?
Gotta help the Skylanders get that Colonel away from Cluck before he can hatch his evil plan. See what I did there? Kablam!
Okay, I take that back. Now, the gimmick here is that you can change the size of some objects, and that's how you go through the level. The only question I have is, why are we able to change the size of objects? Like, we haven't unlocked any new powers or anything, just all of a sudden, we are able to change the size of KFC workers. That's confusing, but I'll let it slide. The cool thing is you can use this gimmick in combat as well, and I like the way this level looks, so far so good. The Sea Star is really fun as well. We get this puzzle area, some platforming, and then we race to the end, which makes it one of the best sea sections in the entire game. And once that is done, we get the ability to change the chicken size, which unlocks some new collectibles, and we also get attacked by chicken canyons, which is not something you see every day. And this level is also full of these weird chicken puzzles, but they are quite simple, so I don't mind them. And here comes the main problem in this level. The land vehicle sections are horrible, as you're supposed to push the chickens into these holes in some kind of pinball-like area, I guess, but this is just unbearable. And quickly after that, we get the Sky Star, where we run away from a giant cock who is spitting eggs at us and then gets a gun and starts shooting. And this is a great and fun vehicle boss fight, I'm not even kidding, I really love this whole fight. However, once we defeat him, we get the Clock fight, which is the complete opposite, as you fight him by pushing chickens into these holes again, and I've already said I can't stand this, and now it's in a boss fight where you're constantly getting attacked while trying to push these annoying chickens around the arena, and it's very easy to die because of that, and that makes Clock's fight, unfortunately, one of the worst fights in the entire franchise, and that's a shame, because if the boss fight was good, this would be an easy 10 out of 10 level, but instead it's an 8 out of 10, which is still great, to be honest, but it could have been better. Clock then gets crushed by his own chickens, Max turns the Colonel into a popcorn, and now we can go to Monsters Isles to fight the Titans. The level seems normal at the start as we fight a couple of trolls, but then we eat the Colossal Colonel, and now we are absolutely enormous, and we deal a huge amount of damage, and that means that this is pretty much the opposite of Gadfly Glades, so that's nice. We move quite slowly, but that's fine as there is a solid level of satisfaction from destroying houses, and these small trolls that aren't even the size of our toes. Although I do feel like the camera should be slightly zoomed out. I understand it's this way to make us feel like we are actually huge, but still, should have been slightly zoomed out in my opinion. We get the short land vehicle section and it's decent, but then right after that we get the Sky Star, where the goal is to destroy 12 of these clam bunkers that are attacking these birds, and this is an okay section. It's really nothing special and lasts longer than needed, so yeah, could have been better, but the cool thing is we get the Ptera Shark boss fight right after it, which is the first of the 3 Titan fights in this level, and if you do the Sky Star, because Ptera Shark is constantly chasing you during the vehicle section, when you start the fight it will have less health, so that's dope. The fight consists of Ptera Shark going underground and trying to squash us Terrafin style, sending shockwaves and vomiting on us. It's an okay fight, it's quite dull if I'm being honest, but it's still one of the better ones in the game. Then we get the same thing with Beachcomber, because we first get the Sea Star where we chase her in this 2D area, and this is just so goddamn slow. You just avoid her tentacles and that's it. I don't like it at all, but at least it's still cool that there is that bonus that if you do this, she will have less health when we start the fight. Beachcomber has the personality of a high school bitch or something, which makes her look like a joke instead of an actual boss fight, but at least the fight is better than the previous one, as she has quicker attacks that can catch you off guard, but it's still pretty easy. She attacks you with a ship, dashes into you, attacks you with her tentacles, and turns into a helicopter. But that's all, it is nothing groundbreaking, but it's a decent fight nonetheless. Then at the end of the level you just need to destroy 3 sand castles, and this is quite boring and pointless, and then you get to fight Thundertoe, who sounds like he was written by fucking Jake Paul or something.
Yo, this neck bling is sick, right? Alright, brah, let's see what you got. No, brah, I'm just getting started. Let's get flexed. You mad, brah?
Anyways, he's another decent fight, and he has 4 attacks. He can punch you, jump into you, use the Eye of the Ancients to shoot projectiles at you, and this 4th attack that I have no idea how to name. This fight is at least slightly tougher because I died twice here, but it's still nothing special difficulty wise and nothing special overall, but it's probably the best one in this level, so that's something for sure. Anyways, we defeat him and get the Eye of the Ancients, and this level gets another 8 out of 10. It's a solid level honestly, and just as we are about to complete the Core of Light, Chaos shows up with the Sky Eater and tries to destroy the entire academy, and we get this cool apocalyptic vibe cutscene where everybody's close to dying and stuff, and also massive respect to Sharpfin. I mean, the guy held himself and 2 people with his teeth. He has to be the most underrated character in Skylanders, and Buzz tries to rescue us, but we are too heavy to get away, so Glumshanks decides to sacrifice himself and save all of us by detaching an entire island of the academy so that we can run away. This is actually quite a huge moment in Skylanders, as we actually witness an OG character die right in front of our eyes, and we also witness the Core of Light get destroyed. So this cutscene is just amazing, and I can't wait to see what's next that this game has in store for us. Unfortunately, the next thing this game has for us is an immediate disappointment, as Glumshanks is still alive and we need to rescue him by winning Pendergast's Derby. Now don't get me wrong, I love my man Glumshanks and I'm not disappointed that he's alive. I'm just disappointed that it's done in this fashion. Like, the surprise of Glumshanks being alive would have been fine if it was placed later in the story, not immediately after this moment. It just makes this whole thing feel so pointless when it comes to Glumshanks. I don't know, I feel like this is the first big L that Superchargers takes when it comes to the plot in this game. Anyways, the next level is Right Apocalypse Demo Derby or Darby, I don't know, which is just the vehicle version of Battle Brawl Island, although the atmosphere does feel better. It does feel like an actual huge event instead of a cult meeting, but the host is Pendergast and not Shellshock, so Battle Brawl Island wins in that regard. Speaking of Shellshock, this level seems to be taking place in Motleyville. It's literally identical, so that's a nice throwback. Or I guess maybe just developers being lazy, but we are going to call it a nice throwback for now. Anyways, you have some minor exploration at the start, along with the Supercharger area where you play 3 Skystones matches, and after that, you start the main part of the level, which is an arena battle for your vehicles, and you can already guess where this is going. I can't stand this level. It's just land vehicle combat, that's all, and I just don't enjoy it. There are 3 rounds, the first one starts off with smaller enemies, and then you get the first boss fight against Trolling Thunder, or Dreadroller as they call him in this game. I don't know man, I prefer the Trap Team name, and also prefer the Trap Team fight, as this fight is disgusting. He has one single attack where he shoots at you, but his shots can also launch 4 bombs around you, and it's so hard to avoid that if you're not using Shark Tank or Shield Striker. And admittedly, I did die in this boss fight with Shield Striker, and yeah, it's because I'm a dumbass, but it's also because it was taking ages and I got bored, because this is just boring. Anyway, second round is all about fighting the next boss fight, and that's Turbo Teeth, and man, this is annoying. He only has 1 attack, and that's shooting 3 missiles, and it's piss easy to avoid. But the problem here is the fact you're constantly getting your balls chopped off by these small and annoyingly fast vehicles. This entire round is just painful, and I died multiple times, and I want to jump off a cliff. The final round is a 1v1 against Wreckosaurus, and this fight is miles better than the previous 2, but it still sucks. At the start it's very easy as he only has 2 attacks, shooting rockets and dashing into you. Then he gets his third attack, which is slightly harder to avoid, especially if you're close to him, but the real problem comes when his rockets start turning into bombs that stay in the arena, because look at this, look how many of them are here. How the hell am I supposed to avoid all of them while also avoiding his other attacks and staying close enough to him to attack him? Do you now understand why I dislike the combat so heavily? This level shows everything bad about it. Also, at some point he starts getting shields that you break by going on these boosts on the sides, and that's something I actually like if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's the entire fight. Again, I died multiple times, and this is by far the most deaths I've had in a single level in this game, and it's also the worst level in this game as it gets another 0 out of 10. Glumshanks is now rescued, and Dion suggests that we bring the darkness where it came from, which is the Dark Rift engine. However, unfortunately we have no idea where to find it, but that's when Glumshanks, the legend, reveals that the darkness talks in his sleep and that the Dark Rift engine is located in the Vault of the Ancients, so that's where we are headed next.
Besides, we've got the Skylander here to go check things out.
So basically, the same plan as always.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, they're self-aware again, that's nice. Also, this level looks absolutely gorgeous, so I'm already excited. We meet Pluck, who claims to be the last of the Watch Wraiths, and he gives us the fundamental power of attraction. Damn, thanks a lot, Isaac. But yeah, now we're able to attract stuff towards us, which results in some pretty neat puzzles, and I really am a fan of this gimmick. Now we have the Land Star where we are supposed to repair these statues, and this utilizes the magnet gimmick, and I think it does a great job at balancing the combat with the puzzles and driving, even though I still have nightmares from the last level. And I do like that you can't just constantly use the magnet, because then you'll attract these mines and the projectiles from the enemies. So yeah, overall definitely one of the better land stars in the game. I'm loving this level so far. After that we enter this dark room, which also looks amazing, and we get the fundamental power of repulsion, meaning that we can now also push objects away from us, and this brings us even more possibilities for puzzles, and I love it. You can even use this stuff for combat, so I'm just fully enjoying this, like genuinely. The part of this level where you play with Skylanders is amazing. However, the first problem shows up when we get to the Sky Star. You are supposed to hit these chimes to wake up all other watch wraiths, but the problem is, it's so boring. You literally just go forward and hit chimes. There is nothing to say here, and nothing to even enjoy. It's just empty and boring. But after that we get some more unique and fun puzzles to do, and also this cool enemy that has different ways of attacking you depending on whether you're pulling or pushing away. On a random note, there is a T-Bone Skystone in this game, and that brings tears to my eyes, especially seeing the image from Spyro's Adventure. It's just beautiful. The Sea Star is fine when it comes to these puzzles where you're supposed to rotate these things, but as always the combat lets me down, so yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this section. And the end of this level is another vehicle section, and I'm kinda bored of them at this point. I would have preferred a normal ending with maybe even a boss fight or something, but this is kind of pointless honestly. You just defeat a couple of enemies and do this short puzzle, and that's it. Could have been better, but it's fine. Anyways, this level has a lot of content in it, which does make it slightly too long for my liking, so when I look at everything, this level gets a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. An amazing level that would have been a 10 if the vehicle sections were better, but yeah, 9 out of 10 it is.
I don't know about you, but that thing gives me the willies.
Bro, Sharpfin, man, you gotta stop with this. Anyways, the academy is being attacked by pirates, and I am so excited because I love the concept of our hub area getting attacked back in Giants, so I'm probably gonna love it again. Never mind, not only was there no level, but there were only 5 enemies to fight as well. Wow, this was a waste. Could have been so much more epic instead of being a pile of crap that it sadly is. The only thing that happened is Max got kidnapped, although they couldn't even bother to make a cutscene for that, it just happened off screen. And now the next level is the bandit train, where we need to rescue Max. Now this means that we get a level where we are robbing a train, which is weird considering we had that in Trap Team as well, and that level was not good. And the bandit train ain't nothing special either. It's literally just a series of the same looking areas in the dark that have platforming, block puzzles or enemy fights, and every now and then you will get these 2D areas where there's more platforming, and that's pretty much it. And this steam effect is annoying as hell. I know it's there so that it's harder to see, but that's kind of the fucking problem. And another thing that pisses me off is the presence of grenades. I can't stand this enemy in any game. It frustrates the hell out of me. And that's pretty much it for the level. No vehicle sections, thank God, but that makes it quite short and bland. The only interesting thing is this boss fight against Blubberbeard, but he has one single attack, so that sucks. The grenades are literally a bigger threat than the boss fight. But yeah, once we defeat him, Mags is free, and this level gets a 5 out of 10 because it's the definition of an average level. After that, we see that Chaos doesn't feel so good, even though he has done everything he wanted to, and then Glumshanks appears out of nowhere, and once again Glumshanks explains to Chaos that if he destroys Skylands, he won't have anything to rule over, which once again makes Chaos question whether he wants to actually push the button and destroy everything. Meanwhile, Max finished working on the Dark Rift engine, so we are ready to fight the darkness. For some reason, I did not expect the final level to come so soon. It just feels odd to put it after the bandit train. Like, it feels like the last level of the game, but I feel like the second to last level is also as important, and in all previous games they all felt grand and important for the story, but this one just feels very disconnected, which is another reason why I don't like the bandit train. But anyways, enough yapping, let's go beat the darkness. We see Chaos is still hesitant to push the button, but the darkness, who has become a giant floating head, nice reference, forces him to push the button by threatening to take away his powers. Our plan, meanwhile, is to enter the Sky Eater, stop it from destroying Skylands, and return the darkness to the Dark Rift engine. In order to enter, we need to detonate the crystals on this Radiance geode, and that means we start the level with the Sky Star. It's quite boring, honestly. You just fly in a circle and shoot at these crystals, and then once we can enter the Sky Eater, we get this section where we fly past traps, and then a new area where we have to destroy 4 of these shooting things. I don't think it's bad. You can tell they try to make it big, but I just don't really enjoy it, so let's just move on. We get to fight some enemies here and slightly explore this area, and I love its design. What I don't love though is the fact we are getting enemies from the second level. Like, every level had new enemies except from this one. It just feels awkward, especially putting level 2 enemies here. At least give us some stronger minions to fight. Now we have the Land Star, and these segments where you're racing down this narrow path are actually quite fun, and in between those segments are these large areas where you fight enemies and get chased by Chaos's hand that you're supposed to trick into hitting these buttons for you so that you can advance. Overall, I think this is a good vehicle section. Unlike the Sea Star, that just consists of 2 empty areas and then a baby Hydra boss fight. And of course, you know me, I love the Hydra reference as always, but the boss has one single attack that's piss easy to avoid, and it has barely any health. So yeah, the Sea Star sucks. And now all that's left in this level are these platforming puzzles where you have to step on certain platforms that won't hurt you. I don't really find this interesting, but it's not the worst thing ever. And then at the end we get an incredibly mediocre fight, and now we are going to face Chaos. We get a whole cutscene, and that's nice, but I find it funny he still thinks Glumshanks is in his imagination. Anyways, he starts by shooting Minecraft blocks at us, and it's pretty easy to avoid, and then he gets this giant sword, which is cool as hell, and starts sending shockwaves at an extremely underwhelming pace. Like, really? This is the speed of the final fight? Wow, that sucks. Then he starts duplicating himself to confuse us, but it's easy to see which one is the real Chaos because he's the only one wearing the crown. His sword eventually breaks, so he starts using his giant hands, and they have some interesting attacks. They make shockwaves too, although it's still quite slow, but they also send whatever these things are. It's still quite easy to avoid though, and at the end Chaos stands at the center and makes big shockwaves himself, and that's it. It's really nothing special compared to the previous 3 Chaos fights, but compared to everything in this game, it is the best boss fight in the game, so I look at it as a positive, even though it's not exactly the fireworks show that I was hoping for. Chaos is now defeated and we are about to activate the Dark Rift engine, but the darkness stops us and forces Chaos to destroy the Dark Rift engine. Just when we are about to all die, Chaos betrays the darkness in this insanely hard moment. After that, Flynn does his annual boom and the credits roll and we get to hear the best song of all time.
That's why we're supercharged with love. You got
You didn't really think this was over, did you?
And just like that, we have the craziest moment in the entire franchise. I mean, fair play to the developers and the writers, this is so creative. I am actually in awe.
Your greatest battle awaits you, Portal Master!
Bro says this every year, man. I've defeated 4 of these greatest battles already. Anyways, just like that, the celebration party is ruined and we have to fight the darkness. Unfortunately, in a land vehicle. It would have been at least cool if they mixed vehicle sections and regular gameplay with Skylanders for this fight, but nah, you only get to fight him in a vehicle. And hey, we are back where we started the game, but the fight sucks. You drive forward, avoid these things, and you need to go through 6 of these rings in a row, and then you can deal damage to him. It's just boring, but after 3 times you get teleported to this much cooler area where you get attacked by these shadow guardians, and I heavily dislike this area because for the life of me, I have no idea how to avoid their attacks. I just get absolutely annihilated in any vehicle that isn't a shark tank or shield striker. That is why I immediately switched to the shark tank once I died, so that I don't waste time on this fight, because it can genuinely last a very long time. Anyways, after some time the darkness gets annoyed and puts us back into the rift where we do the same thing we did before, except that it's slightly more difficult to avoid the attacks, and after a couple of hits he spawns this laser shooting thing, which is just there to distract you pretty much because it's so easy to avoid it. Although after some more hits he spawns another one, and yeah, this part is kinda hard, but it's still easy to do, with Shark Tank especially, and yeah, that's it, you go for these rings, avoid attacks, and you will defeat him, and yeah, I don't like this fight at all. It's long, but not because it's fun, it's just insanely repetitive, and that's it pretty much. And this time we are actually done with the game, and the last level gets a 5 out of 10. Not the greatest ending level, but it's not that big of a surprise. Usually the ending levels aren't anything amazing. Chaos has lost all his powers, so he decides to help us in defeating evil because...
If anyone is going to conquer Skylands, it's going to be me!
I love Chaos in this game, honestly. He's actually my favorite character all of a sudden. This is definitely the best written Skylanders game. Anyways, Chaos gets his own room in the academy where you can play Skystones against him, and you get this crown if you beat him. And one small problem I have is, why does Eon have his entire body? I'm only now realizing that. Like, the man was blown up in the first game, so why is his body here? Wasn't he just a floating head? Ah, who even cares? Anyways, we are done with the story. Now it's time for all the bonus content that this game has to offer. I don't even know where to start. Probably with racing, since that's the other half of the experience. Alright, there are 12 tracks, 4 for each type of vehicle, and I'll be honest, I'm not really good at reviewing racing tracks, so I'm not gonna be giving you ratings. Like, they're all fine in my opinion. My problem is that I don't really like racing games that much because I'm really good at Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which is by far the most fun racing game ever, and I just sort of accept that all other racing games are never gonna reach that level, and that goes for Superchargers as well. Like, it's a fine enough racing game, and there is a lot to cover, but I just want to get one big complaint out of the way. The tracks last way too long. In CTR, the longest tracks would be like 3.5 minutes if you're good at the game. Here, the shortest track is over 3 minutes, and on average, tracks last longer than 4 minutes, which is just too much. Just so we're clear, I'm not complaining about the tracks themselves, I just wish we could go faster, especially in the sky races. Anyways, first I want to focus on the land racing. It works pretty much the same as Mario Kart, except that you constantly have the ability to attack other racers, and while that's good because it adds something new to a racing game, I feel like it has a negative effect as well, because you don't really need to be good at racing or know the tracks that well, since drifting isn't that important. What I'm trying to say is you don't really need to focus on drifting, as you can just drive and shoot at people and there is a solid chance you will win the race anyways. Obviously they had to nerf your attacks slightly, because if this blue meter is empty, you cannot do any attacks. However, this meter fills up quickly by itself, and you can also fill it up by collecting these blue things. And even the shortcuts aren't that important, because they barely give you any advantage, and they are piss easy to perform. The controls are fine enough, it's not perfect though, they are a bit shaky and you deflect off the walls in a weird way, but it's really nothing too important, I'm just nitpicking at this point. The biggest problem with the controls is that drifting just isn't that satisfying to do, but I've already said that drifting doesn't even matter that much, so I'll stop being so negative. As always, we have power-ups too, and most of them are items from previous games, so that's cool. Time Twister Hourglass slows down other drivers, Groove Machine gives you speed and makes you immune to attacks, Healing Elixir heals you obviously, this power-up fills up your meter for a short amount of time, Winged Boots give you a boost, Sky Iron Shield makes you immune to attacks, Tiki Speaky deals a huge amount of damage to all other drivers, and Rocket Ram works just like the rocket in Mario Kart. You just get insane speed and run through everybody for a short amount of time. Also, I have to complain about Gold Rusher because that vehicle is too overpowered for racing. If Gold Rusher is in first place, then that driver will 99% of the time win, because he can just spam you with the second attack, which is leaving the bombs behind you, so you will definitely run into them. Now when it comes to the tracks, I do think they are good. I like that every track is based around some level from past free games. I do wish we got Giants and Spyro's Adventure locations too, but I understand the games looked completely different, so it's fine. Chompy Garden is my favorite land track. Its design is based on Gadfly Glades. We are tiny and driving through a garden, and that obviously makes for a cool track. We drive around carrots, flowers, mushrooms and beetroots while Chompy stare at us. Water that pours from the hose is an obstacle that slows you down, and there is this cool area where you're driving on lily pads, so yeah, I love it. Dragon Spine is also a solid track, and it takes elements from the Cloud Breather's Crag, which means that we are once again driving on top of dragons, which is something I loved in the level, and I love it here too. Another cool thing is that the dragons add more fire or ice to the track in the second and the third lap, so yeah, it's another good track. Now let's talk about the after party. I love the track design here as it's based on the Mexican Day of the Dead, I think at least, but it's also inspired by the 3DS Swap Force levels. If you don't believe me, Count Moneybone was the main villain on the 3DS, and look who we are racing with on this track. Anyways, the track looks amazing, it's colorful, and it has cool sections like this part, and cool details like these giant piñatas, balloons everywhere, and skeleton heads. It's just all really cool and fun to play as well. But my least favorite track is Temple of Arcus. Listen, it looks cool, but it's just less interesting than the others and quite a boring track to play in my opinion. The two highlights are the giant Archean robots, who are back for the first time since Giants, and the stone monkeys on this part of the track, but everything else is just kinda basic. Although I do like that it's nighttime, it does make everything look better. Now it's time to talk about sky and sea races, which are the reasons this game is unique when compared to the other racing games, and I want to start with the sky races. Wow, they are boring. These are my least favorite just because they feel way too slow. Instead of regular boost pads, here we have these rings, but there is nothing like drifting here, so there is no way to go faster, and flying feels 10 times slower than driving on land, so that's awful. There really isn't anything else to say about the flying itself, I just really dislike it. When it comes to the tracks, the worst one is Cloud Factory. It's obviously based on the Cloud Kingdom, but it just feels empty, slow, and it's way too similar to the Air Star in that level. Calamity Canyon is themed around Iron Jaw Gulch. Again, it just kinda feels empty, but at least it has some memorable parts like this one with the flying ships once you leave the canyon that progressively gets more ships, and this area at the end with the Chef Pepperjack cutboard and Grables and Sharks throwing food at each other. Also, this is a slight personal issue, but it reminds me a lot of Dragon Mines in CTR, and I just... yeah, we don't talk about Dragon Mines. A track that I actually like is Cluck's Cocoon Nest. It's based on Captain Cluck's Chicken HQ, and I like the abundance of giant eggs. They're used in quite creative ways as the main obstacle of this track, and if you destroy some of them you can get a power-up, box, or a boost. I also like the vertical parts where eggs are falling on you, or you have to shoot these eggs to avoid them. Also, the ring placement is really good, and it's an actual challenge to get to them sometimes. The best track though, it's easily the Clock Rock, and it's a combination of Time Town and the future of Skylands from Trap Team. We start off in Time Town for a short amount of time before literally time traveling during the race to go to the future, and man, the future looks so much better in this game than it did in Trap Team. It's not a huge difference, I know, but it really works well for a track design. And then we travel back in time to Time Town, and I've always said I love the way Time Town looks, so this is great as well, with an actual decent shortcut and the Wolfgang cutboard. Now we are only left with the sea races, and I think this is where the racing in this game shines the brightest. I know, the water physics, they aren't the greatest, and it's probably the hardest out of the three to control, but I think it's by far the most fun to play. Just the ability to go below water and then bounce out of it adds so much more to the experience than the previous two did together. It just feels the fastest, and we have both boost pads on water that boost us, but also rings below and above the water, and it has the most interesting divided paths. And while admittedly it is the longest track in this game, I still think Mystical Vault is good. It's based on the Vault of Ancients, and it looks great and colorful, and it has a nice gimmick where the rings that boost you are not always active. There are red and blue rings, and only one color is activated, but only for a short amount of time before it switches to the other one, so you have to constantly focus on which path you're driving on, because you can miss a ton of boosts if you are not on the right side or pay attention to the timer. Frozen Fossil Festival is another very creative track. It's not like any other track in the game because it is the only one that has only one lap. That does make it the shortest track, but it has by far the longest lap because it lasts over 2 minutes, and I honestly love that. I feel like the average time of tracks should be a lot less than it is, so this is a breath of fresh air, and I think the track is fun to go through as well. It has a lot of fun jumps, and the first half takes elements from Boney Island, while the second half is at nighttime and takes elements from Frostfest Mountains. It's got some cool shortcuts too, so this one is just a W. The Golden Temple is a slightly weaker track, but I still like it. It's based on the lair of the Golden Queen obviously, and I like the color palette of that level, so that is nice. Also, it's cool that we are driving through golden liquid, but my main problem is that there is nothing that really sticks out here. There are still some super fun jumps to do, but other than that, nothing special, so yeah, it's the weakest sea track. The best track and the last track in this game is Tropic Plunder. I'll be honest, I can't really think of what level this track originates from. I think Monstrous Isles makes the most sense with the volcano and the beach theme, so I'm just gonna go with that. Anyways, this is a super fun track, and it's also a very tough track. You have to be careful when turning and not to miss potential rings that boost you, and it has some cool shortcuts, jumps and set pieces, and it's my favorite. Now that's all about the racing and tracks in general. If you're into Skylanders, you will probably like the tracks, and sea racing is great. Land racing is just fine, probably average if I'm honest, and sky racing is quite bad, so overall I think the racing in this game is just decent. Nothing too bad, but nothing special or insane, it's just good, and you will get some enjoyment out of it for sure, but I can honestly never see myself coming to this game for its racing. It's always going to be the story and the Skylanders gameplay, and I think everybody will agree with that. The racing is just always going to stand in a shadow, and that's a shame, but as I've said, it's anyways not great, so that's that. However, I still need to talk about how you actually complete the racing in this game. Now, you only have 6 tracks unlocked at the start, and to unlock other tracks you have to buy sea, land and sky trophies, so they are sort of adventure packs for this game, and it genuinely feels lame. I feel like you should only buy 1 trophy for these 6 tracks, like 1 trophy for 2 tracks, it just feels like a waste of money. Also, the land trophy can be expensive as hell. I paid $40 for it. There is also the Chaos Trophy, but that one doesn't unlock any new tracks, it just unlocks Chaos and his vehicle as a character that you can race with, but it's only for sky races, and I don't like them, so that's just a complete waste of your money. Don't buy it. Anyways, I got all trophies, so I have all tracks unlocked. Now there are 5 modes that you must complete, regular racing obviously, but also time trial, boss pursuit, supervillain cup and the mirror cup. Regular racing has 3 difficulties on its own and it's not connected to the nightmare mode. You can play on easy, normal or hard. If you win on easy, you get 1 star, normal 2 stars and hard all 3 stars, but you must win. If you finish second, no matter what the difficulty is, you will get 0 stars, so you know what that means. We are doing everything on hard mode. However, it's not really that hard at all. I failed my first try on Chompy Garden due to quite literally the unluckiest possible timing of this time twister hourglass, but I did it easily on my second try. And also keep in mind, for winning a race or any other mode you get a vehicle mod, and just for playing you will always get a wish stone plus some gold and gear bits, but it's barely anything. They really should have made it a lot more in that aspect. Also, who the hell are these people? Rupert, Monty, Barnaby and Quincy. I've never heard of them. It really should have been Blobbers, Knuckles, North and Rizzo. I have no clue why they didn't use them instead of these fakers. Anyways, I won all other land races easily, even though I had some unfortunate difficulties, but hey, I still came out on top in the last seconds. Also, this was a very intense ending. Hehe, suck on that. Now let's go to time trials. You just need to beat a certain time for 1 lap, it's piss easy and there is no way you don't do this. The thing I don't like is that I already beat the required time on my first lap, but I still need to do the other 2 for some reason. I mean, that's just a big time waste. Why are you torturing me for no reason? Now, boss pursuit is interesting. They saw that the villain gimmick was popular in trap teams, so they brought it to racing as well. The problem here is that it's shit. It just is. I love all of the intro cutscenes for every boss we fight, but we don't even fight them really. This is not like the story vehicle bosses, this is somehow even worse. Basically, you have 3 laps to just constantly shoot at a vehicle that's right in front of you. You can die as many times as you want, and you don't even need to drive fast because the AI is designed to always be somewhere near you, so there is absolutely nothing challenging in this. You will kill pretty much every villain in the first lap with ease, and they barely even attack you, so what kind of boss fights are these? Like, I do love that once we defeat them we can actually play as them, but this is just a lame excuse for bonus content that may be the laziest thing I have ever seen. Anyways, the land villains are Glumshanks, Chompy Mage and Count Moneybone, and they all fit their tracks perfectly and their vehicles are dope. Glumshanks even has his Archean drill, so that's a cool throwback, but there is also this new villain called Dragon Hunter, who has never been in any other game, not even on the 3DS I'm pretty sure, and he doesn't exist in the story here, so really the only explanation I have is that he was supposed to be a boss fight in the Cloud Breather's Crag, but was scrapped for some reason. Honestly, this is a pretty big mystery. If anybody can explain this to me in the comments, that would be very helpful. Anyways, as I said, these are all incredibly easy, and the only one that put up at least somewhat of a fight was Chompy Mage, but I still got them all, so let's move on to the Super Villain Cup. Super Villain Cup is just a cup, but against villains. I know, shocking. Pretty much just who gets the most points over all 4 tracks wins the cup. That does mean we get 3 villains that we didn't trap, and they are Broccoli Guy, Dr. Crankcase and Painata, and I'm already ready to complain again. Why can't we play with these 3 villains? Like, if they are already designed for racing and have special vehicles and special attacks, why can't we play with them? I know there are only 4 tracks, meaning you can only fight 4 villains, but they could have just let us unlock them with a land trophy as some sort of bonus for anyways wasting money on this. I would also rather play with any of these 3 villains compared to this random Dragon Hunter. Although damn, he is good at racing. He was only 2 points behind me, but I still easily won the cup, even though I finished 5th in the last race, so this shouldn't be a problem for anyone. Unfortunately, there is still the Mirror Cup that needs beating, and that is just the same cup but mirrored, obviously, so that just feels like more pointless replaying. But alright, I beat it easily, winning all 4 races, so that's it for land racing. And the same goes for sky and sea races. For sky races I use Chaos for everything, and yeah, he does feel like the best option there is for the sky races. I absolutely destroyed all of the regular races, it was not challenging in the slightest, and the same goes for the time trials. Really, I don't know if it's because of Chaos, but both modes were easy as hell. The same obviously goes for Boss Pursuit. I didn't use Chaos here, but I still did them with ease, and here you fight Stratosphere again, Chef Pepperjack, Captain Cluck, and Wolfgang, and the additional 3 enemies in the Villain Cup are Bad Juju, Hoodsickle, and Fretpack. Again, it's stupid that we can't play as all of them, but at least we have all familiar villains this time, none of that Dragon Hunter bullshit. I won the cup, winning all 4 races again, and the Mirror Cup was easy too. As for the sea races, I beat the Golden Temple and Mystical Vault on my first try, however there were some unfortunate finishes in Frozen Fossil Festival and Tropic Plunder. I did beat them both on my second try, so that wasn't a huge time waste. Time trials and Boss Pursuit were as easy as always. This time we fight Spell Slamzer, Mesmeralda, Captain Frightbeard, and Golden Queen. And holy shit, Captain Frightbeard has finally made it to a console game. That brings tears to my eyes. I will say though, Spell Slamzer doesn't really fit Mystical Vault, but I guess they didn't have anybody else to be there, so I guess that's fine. I won both of the cups easily too. However, the 3 villains here are Gulper, Chillbill, and Noodles. And I think it's absolutely tragic the way they keep doing my man Noodles. He got cucked like 3 times. Not only was his boss fight in Giant scrapped, not only did Trap Team, a game full of playable villains, include him as the main villain in a level, and didn't even give us a boss fight or the ability to trap him, but now even Superchargers trolled Noodles by making him a perfectly functional racer, but not giving him a boss pursuit, and not making him a playable character. Poor Noodles, man, he has been the most mistreated character in this entire franchise. I guess together with Sunburn. After getting all stars in racing, I am now level 69 as a Portal Master, meaning only 6 more levels and I will be at the maximum. And before we move on to other stuff, I have to talk about one thing. In my previous 2 reviews, I didn't talk about the achievements or the Platinum Trophy because I didn't really feel the need to do so, but some people did ask me why I'm not covering it, so in this game I will. And to be honest, almost everything I do in this video will unlock almost every trophy. There are only 3 of them that you need to unlock on your own. They are complete 10 Hugo quests, complete 10 Tessa quests, and win a race on every difficulty. So yeah, before you stop with racing, make sure you win 1 race on easy difficulty and 1 on normal, and then you will get that trophy. And when it comes to the other 2, once you finish the game, the developers added Hugo's quests and Tessa's quests so that you will always have something to do. There are some quite simple quests. Hugo usually tells you to go back to some random level and do some random vehicle section, a certain elemental gate or a supercharger gate, and for doing them you get collectibles just like you would get them from the wishing well or the shop. And the same goes for Tessa, except her quests are slightly different. She often gives you quests that send you back to the bandit train, where you need to complete a couple of these rooms to get to the other end and find something that the bandits have stolen. Other quests can be an arena battle in Battle Brawl Island or Apocalypse Demo Derby. In the Battle Brawl Island arena battles, you just fight a certain species like skeletons or pirates, and you get a mini boss fight at the end as well. As for the vehicle battles, they are not as abysmal as the actual level, but they still suck. Anyways, as you can tell, these quests are quite simple and should all take under 5 minutes, so doing 10 of them should be easy. The weird thing is, I only did 8 Hugo quests, but I still got the trophy. The reason that happened is because at some point I realized that every once in a while, this random NPC called Eve will give you a quest. So I did her quest once, and then at some point eventually I did another one, and when I did the second one, I unlocked the trophy for Hugo's quests. Now, how exactly is this random Mabu connected to Hugo? I have no clue, but I appreciate it. However, I expect people to make serious conspiracy theories whether this is Hugo in disguise now. Anyways, that's another thing done. Now it's time for elemental gates. These are all short and simple challenges that shouldn't take you more than a couple of tries, so I will just briefly talk about them. To complete them you need to get 3 stars, and you get stars by finishing the challenges under a certain amount of time. I'm not going to lie, I don't really like these, but at least most of them aren't that annoying. Every time you complete an elemental gate you get a collectible, and your Skylander levels up by the same number of levels as the number of the gates you have completed. The water gate is about doing puzzles in order to escort this scuba sheep. It's quite easy and it shouldn't take you long. The fire gate is just about getting to the end as fast as possible while collecting time clocks. Again, this is very easy. In the tech gate, the goal is to catch 5 sheep thieves in this weird looking area, and I did this on my first try, so yeah, easy again. The undead gate is about killing 55 enemies, and it is slightly tougher, but you will do it in a couple of tries. Just don't make the same mistake as me and don't use Krypt Krusher. Tomb Buggy is much better. In the magic gate, you have to rescue 12 Mabus, which is again easy. In the light gate you need to destroy 25 of these enemies that are hiding in these asteroids, which is once again easy. The dark gate is about rescuing 5 scuba sheep while avoiding baby Hydra's attacks, and I did this one on my first try, meaning it's again easy. The air gate is also easy, but it takes ages. You need to kill 40 enemies and it takes way too long, but it is kinda fun if I'm being honest. The life gate is the second toughest gate in my opinion. You need to return 12 Twitter pillars to the center of this area, but if you hit these vines, all Twitter pillars will fall off and return to the place where you found them somehow. That's not a huge problem though, but what is that they will also fall if they get hit by these vines. And unfortunately when you pick them up, they hang off your vehicle like a ball sack, so it's very possible that they will hit the vines. However, none of these elemental gates are that challenging once you get the hang of it. However, there is one elemental gate left, and that is the earth one, and I saved the best for last. This is the one that was actually quite hard for me. Maybe I'm just bad, but this sucks in my opinion. You have to push these boulders into these weird asshole looking things, and this is almost exactly the same as that BS from Cap'n Cluck's Chicken HQ. But hey, at least this time they save you the agony of those bouncing pricks, but this time you got a timer. A 60-second timer, might I add. That's right, you gotta do this in 60 seconds somehow. Now that's possible, obviously, because I did it, but it's genuinely painful. I don't even have a strategy for this, it's just pure chaos and luck combined. You have to find your own strategy and pray that you have enough luck to accomplish it, because it's very easy to miss by a couple of seconds, which feels horrible. Anyways, that's it when it comes to the elemental gates, so now it's time for Supercharger challenges. There is this Mabu in the academy that gives you all Supercharger challenges, and they are just doing random challenges in racing tracks. Dive Klops' challenge, for example, is finishing the track under 2 minutes and 45 seconds. For Spitfire is going through these rings to collect 600,000 points for all 3 stars. For High Volt, it's killing these racers to collect enough points. For Fiesta, it's collecting these notes to get enough points, and so on. Most of these should be done on your first or second try. However, there are some annoying ones that I struggled with, like Fiesta's challenge. It's tough because you need to constantly collect all of these notes because they build up a multiplier, and if you go like 5 seconds without collecting a single note, the multiplier is lost, so it's very easy to miss out on the 3rd star by a couple of thousand points, which will hurt. Trigger Happy's challenge has the multiplier too, so it's annoying for the same reason. It's just that it's even worse because the multiplier goes up to 10 times instead of only 5, and here you collect these orbs instead of notes. But the worst challenge is Stealth Elves, for the same reason again, except this time you don't collect notes or orbs, you need to kill bugs. And the small ones are fine, they die in 1 hit, but they don't add to your multiplier. Only the big bugs add to your multiplier and give a lot more points than small bugs, and man, they are tough to kill. Like, you need to be incredibly precise and focused to kill them, and it's so easy to lose your multiplier here because all of the bugs are quite far from each other, so the entirety of this challenge you will spend on the verge of losing your multiplier. It's like you're constantly edging your multiplier, that's what this feels like. Anyways, that's it. You do that for all 18 Superchargers, and in return you get some collectibles and a bunch of level ups for your Skylanders. Now the interesting thing is, if you go talk to Buzz, he gives you random challenges for your Superchargers, so I guess I will add that to the list of things I need to do in this video.
Fighting pirates keeps me sharp. I've been all across the 11 seas searching for what they took from me.
God damn, I didn't know Skylanders talked in this game. And Buzz even refers to all of them by their names. That's actually crazy. I never knew about this. I missed so many things in this game, it's insane. I honestly wish you could have seen my reaction to Stealth Elf talking for the first time. I was genuinely shocked. But yeah, these challenges all function the same way. Each supercharger needs to kill 20 enemies with a certain attack. It's usually the third attack, but it can be something else as well. These exist pretty much just to level up your Skylanders and I guess teach you how to use their moveset, so they are fine by me, and your stats get buffed if you do them. I tried to find the fastest way to do these, but unfortunately you can't do them in the academy because these greebles can't be killed. However, the last chapter in the Land of the Undead is a good option because it has a ton of chompies, and I even tried doing some of them in those bandit train Tessa quests, but the best option by far is the Supercharger Gate in Captain Clock's Chicken HQ because it infinitely spawns these one-hit enemies, so yeah, that's the fastest way to do this. After doing the first challenge, as I said, you get an upgrade on one stat, and then you get another challenge, this time for your vehicle. Again, it's most of the time killing 50 enemies with a certain attack, and Krypt told me the best place to do these challenges for land vehicles are in the academy training area, but I wasn't smart enough to think of that, so I tried doing these in either those Tessa quests or in the first chapter of Gadfly Glades, because it only takes like a minute to get the land vehicle section, and then you have a ton of these small enemies to kill. These vehicle challenges were a lot more annoying than the Skylander ones because it's much easier to die with your vehicle than with your Skylander, and some of these challenges are just obscene. Like Eruptor's challenge is killing enemies with the fire that you leave behind, and you can imagine how annoying this is. But the worst one by far is Smash Hit's challenge. Not only because his dialogue is annoying as hell.
You go to town. I mean, I have all the supplies I need right now. And seriously, why would I ride a goon into town when I have a perfectly good thump truck? Unless it broke down, then of course I'd change my mind about goons.
Yeah, that's horrible, but that's not why the challenge sucks. It's because it doesn't work properly. You're supposed to kill 50 enemies with your first attack, but you kill them, and it doesn't count for some reason. It's like every 5th hit counts, and that's at best if I'm being honest. So this was by far the worst thing in this challenge. When it comes to the sea vehicles, you just go to the Sea Star in the Vault of the Ancients, where for some reason destroying these bombs counts as killing enemies, and by the gods, these bombs respawn, so this is the easiest thing to do. Just don't be a dumbass and try not to die. When it comes to the sky vehicles, just pick any vehicle section with enemies, they should all work fine. Anyways, once you do the vehicle challenges, your vehicle gains bonus stats. But there's still one more challenge that Buzz gives you, and that is to do the Supercharger challenge. Oh no! Now I know that I could say, oh well, I already did the Supercharger challenges, so I don't need to do them again, but it doesn't count them for the bus challenges because I didn't activate the bus challenges before I did the Supercharger challenges, so because I hate myself, I'm going to do all challenges again, so you can imagine how fun that was. I got so tired of this game by the time I was done with these stupid Supercharger challenges that I was pretty much on life support. But I did do all the Supercharger challenges again, and later I bought Philippid's vehicles, so that was the last challenge I needed to do, so once that was done, the Supercharger challenges were finally over. I think this took the longest time to do gameplay-wise out of all the bonus content, so hopefully you guys learn from my mistakes if you want to complete this game and save yourself all the time I lost. Now, I want to talk about the emblems. There are 16 of them in this game, and so far I've done 8, so it's time to go over the ones I'm missing. The first one is collecting all spin chests, but that's easy. I just go back to the chapter where I missed the chests and find them, so that was done quickly. Next you need to defeat a ton of enemies. Again, this is very easy to do because I've already been playing this game for a long time, so just a bit of farming in Captain Clock's Chicken HQ was enough. There is one emblem for completing a certain number of live wirelocks, but again, that's easy because you can farm them either with a legendary treasure in the academy or in the third chapter. There are 2 emblems for co-op, so I think it's time we talk about that. Co-op in this game is actually very fun. Obviously you can race against your friends, shout out to my cousin who raced against me for this video. As you can tell, it's just basic multiplayer racing, not too much to be said about this, other than the fact that my cousin is shit at this. And the fact we got these weird glitches where the AI just got stuck in an endless loop during the race, and it happened twice. So that was weird, but the real reason I want to talk about the co-op is the vehicle combat. As always, you have the regular co-op that we have in every game. There is no PvP again, but you can play levels and quests with your friend, and hopefully your friend is smarter than me and my cousin, because this puzzle took an embarrassing amount of time to do. We even got this message that offered us an easier puzzle, which is actually hilarious. I didn't even know this was in the game, but thanks to my cousin bringing the worst out of me, now I know. But as I said, the interesting part is how they managed to put two players in one vehicle, and I think it's done really well. One player does the driving while the other attacks, and this actually enables you to aim where you're shooting, which makes the combat better in my opinion. It's still not the best, but it is definitely an upgrade. And one of the emblems is just do missions with your mate, which I think means either do quests or complete levels. I tried doing just one chapter and it doesn't work. However, it does work if you only do the last chapter of any levels, so my recommendation would be doing the final chapter in the first level. It's so quick that you can do it yourself without any friends, because if you hold L1, the other player will just teleport to you, so just hold L1 on one controller and move on the other one, and this should take you less than a minute. And then just repeat that another 12 times and you got the emblem. There is another cool thing about co-op, and that is that you can play online with your friends, and I'm not just talking about racing. You can actually join your friend's world and play with them as if you were on the same console, and you know damn well what that means.
Scotland forever!
Hey, Serbian needs you.
Okay. Honestly, the things I do for this guy. Well, at least I get to destroy you at the racing.
The bottom line is very clear. You? When you cross absolutely the border dare you, illegally.
Now that Krypt has decided to join me, with his full consent might I add, not forced at all, we can do some cool stuff. We explored his academy, and an interesting thing is that you can't use his winged sapphire or collectibles. You still need to unlock them yourself. I also wanted to help Krypt get the co-op emblem, so we decided to do the same thing with the last chapter, but this time it was Cloudbreather's Crag. However, we did want to genuinely play together, so yeah, that's exactly what we did. Just remember, what you're witnessing right now is going to be remembered as a huge moment for mankind. And again, the vehicle combat is much more fun when you're playing with a friend, and surprisingly there is no lag at all, the game runs perfectly. Now the other emblem for co-op is gained by playing online races. I think you need to do 25 and then you will get the maxed out emblem. So, since I wanted to do the entire playthrough from scratch with my Portal Master rank being 0 at the start, I did the playthrough on my third account, but that account isn't connected to the PlayStation's network, meaning I can't do online races on it. So unfortunately, again, I can't do everything on this account, but I will do it on my main account, so just pretend like it's the other account and everything is fine. And since nobody is playing online races in 2023, once again, I needed Krypt's help, and truth be told, he absolutely obliterated me at the start. Although as I said, it is quite hard to compete against Gold Rusher when he's in front of you and when Krypt keeps spamming the bomb attack. However, my performance was genuinely appalling, and I would like to apologize for letting everyone down. Although there was some bullshit as well that cost me some of these races. But still, I gotta admit, I finished 4th twice in the land races. I have no idea what happened there, but I did get my revenge later when I was using Gold Rusher, and this time I won all the races and my vehicle wasn't even upgraded, so at least Krypt got a taste of his own medicine. He got slapped up so hard, he even quit a race. That's just how good I am. But the land races were the only ones that we replayed more times. When it came to the sky and sea races, we only did them once, and fair enough this time, I genuinely got slapped up again in the sky races. But who cares about sky races? They suck anyways. I attempted to scam my way to victory by constantly disappearing with stealth stingers so that Krypt wouldn't be able to hit me. It even works for the Tiki Speaky, but eventually he just overtook me somehow, and this vehicle doesn't deal any damage, so I was screwed automatically. And Sunrunner is even worse, so Sky Races were a complete failure. As for the Sea Races, I beat Krypt in Tropic Plunder, but neither of us won that race, so that's crazy. I did beat him in the Golden Temple even though he was breathing down my neck the entire time, but my heart did break. I'm not even going to say much, just watch this. Yeah, that sucked, but overall I gotta admit Krypt was the better racer, so I think it's only right that we take the emblem and pretend like this never happened. So we only have 3 emblems left, and they are all about collectibles. One of them is to collect vehicle mods, and there are 162 of them, and the good thing is that at this point you should have all of them just from doing everything else. If you don't, you can easily farm them in any vehicle section, and don't forget you need all supercharged combinations because they give you vehicle mods that you can't unlock just for gameplay. The same thing goes for the hats. You should have all hats unlocked by now, and if you don't, just go to the shop or do quests, and that leaves us with only one more thing to do. The last emblem I need to do is collecting Sky Stones, Chaos Diaries and Legendary Treasures, and there is literally no way that at this point you don't have all diaries, but the other 2 are interesting. There are 88 Sky Stones in this game, 42 can be unlocked in the game, but the other 46 come from the Trap Team villains. Basically, you just place a trap with a villain and it will unlock the Sky Stone. That does mean I have to go back and forth from Trap Team to Superchargers in order to unlock all villain Sky Stones, because I only have 1 trap per element, but at least it's not as bad as the hat debacle in Trap Team, so I'm not complaining. I am going to complain about the traps though, like they are almost entirely useless in this game. When you place them, apart from the Sky Stone, you also get a short elemental attack for your vehicles, but that's it. None of the villains from Trap Team are playable, and that is a huge disappointment in my opinion. I really don't see why that was so hard to do. You even put the trap hole in the portal, so I don't understand the problem here. It's definitely something that shouldn't just be brushed over, because it feels very lazy. Anyways, when it comes to the other 42 Sky Stones, you unlock them for beating NPCs during levels, and as regular collectibles in chests, the Wishing Well, shop, and so on. There is one special Sky Stone that can only be found in Tessa's Bandit Train quests. The rooms in those quests are randomized, so there is a chance that you get a room with this guy, and if you beat him, you unlock the Darkness Sky Stone. It did take me many Tessa quests to unlock this, so I recommend that you just keep replaying the same Bandit Train quest until the randomizer gives you the room with this guy, but yeah, once that's done, that's it for the Sky Stones. When it comes to the legendary treasures, there are 66 of them. 30 can be unlocked through in-game collectibles, but the other 36 are unlocked by the magic items from previous games. They no longer have any use gameplay-wise, they have just been turned to legendary treasures, which is kinda sad, considering some of them literally exist in the vehicle sections, but that's not a big deal. However, I don't have all items, so I gotta buy stuff again.
One eternity later.
Alright, now I have all of them, so after placing all items, I got the last emblem. Anyways, now that that is done, let's finish the video.
Wait. Serbian, you poor innocent soul. You forgot about the robot.
Well, there is only one robot I know about in this game. And it says I need PlayStation Network services for this. I guess I'll just go on my other account again. Damn. There is still more to complete in this game. Fuck me. So yeah, pretty much just like how the darkness came back out of nowhere when we thought the game was done, Skylanders Superchargers comes back again with another thing to collect that I had no idea even existed until Krypt told me. Anyways, let's go over it. Somehow in a fucking Toys to Life game, Activision decided that it would be appropriate to add a microtransaction system. Now that is seriously scummy. How on earth are you already charging kids for toys, cars, traps, items, and then on top of that you add microtransactions? And it would be fine if it was easy to get all this stuff, but it's not. There are 5 things to collect here: boosts, neons, deco, stoppers, and shouts. Boosts can give you shields, boosts, or new attacks, but they can only be used once. They are really easy to obtain though, so that's not a problem. By the time I was done with this shit, I had 200 copies of some of these boosts, so I can use them for years pretty much. However, the other 4 are cosmetics for your vehicles, and they are cool, I will admit, but man are they hard to unlock. The way you unlock them is through this robot. He gives you 3 of these chests that you can either buy with gear bits or actual money, and I'm not insane to spend money on vehicle cosmetics, so collecting gear bits it's gonna have to be. The only problem here is that the fastest way to collect vehicle parts is to buy the most expensive chest, which costs 9,700 gear bits. If you buy the cheapest chest, you only get 3 boosts. For 4,800 gear bits, you only get 8 items, but for 9,700 you get 17, so in the end, it's unfortunately the best if you buy the most expensive chest. Now thankfully Krypt told me the best way to farm gear bits in this game is to start a new save file and you use Shield Striker in the Rift section at the start of the game, because that vehicle has the ability to attract all gear bits nearby towards your vehicle, so in this section, that lasts slightly over 2 minutes, you will get slightly more than 2,000 gear bits. Just remember to constantly keep drifting, because if you're drifting for some reason, it turns the regular gear bits into the bigger ones that give you 3 instead of 1, so yeah, don't forget to drift, otherwise you will earn 3 times less gear bits. The thing is, there are 15 decos, 55 toppers, 15 neons, and 101 shouts, so that's another 186 things to collect. The reason why this is a problem is because there are duplicates. You will open up a couple of chests at the start and get some of these cosmetics, but after that you would be lucky to get more than 4 per chest. Trust me, there will be a huge ton of duplicates, and they try to make up for it by giving you 800 gear bits for every duplicate you get, which is fine. That means that for the next chest you will probably need to grind that land section twice or once, but the thing that pisses me off the most is that you don't get gear bits for the boosts. They all just stack on top of each other, and that's the truly annoying part, since 50% of the chest is usually the boosts, and I already have them all. So if I get gear bits for them too, I would just be in an endless cycle of opening chests until I get all of the cosmetics. But instead of that, I'm still in an endless cycle. It's just that I also need to keep replaying this section, but at least the music is goated, so it's not the worst. Anyways, I definitely opened more than 50 of these chests, and near the end you can imagine how rare the new cosmetics were, but still, after hours and hours of doing this bullshit, I finally got the last thing I needed, and ironically, the last thing I needed is the first thing you hear when you start the first game of the franchise.
Greetings, young Portal Master.
It's kinda poetic, honestly, but yeah, with that, we are finally honestly done with the game. So yeah, let's do the usual save file flexing. Alright, this time I'm doing it differently. It's not live commentary, I just want to say, everything I've done. So here you go. I have the max Portal Master rank. I have all maxed out emblems, apart from the one which I'll show on the other account. I have all 54 stars in the Supercharger challenges. I did all the Supercharger challenges from Buzz. I don't know how to show that. Also, I don't know how to show my elemental gates, but I've done all of them as well. Here are my stats if anybody is interested in that. And yeah, when it comes to the other account, I have the emblem that I don't have on my main account. And also here I have all the vehicle cosmetics and the boosts. I don't think it's necessary to talk over this, I'll just show it to you. And at the end, if you want to see, I took ownership of all my vehicles and Skylanders, so Here you go. Alright, it's time to finish this off. I'm still not really sure how I feel about this game, even though I know it's so much better than prior to doing this playthrough. There is just so much in this game that's just okay. Honestly, the levels were better than I remember them being. Obviously, I can't ignore the fact that out of the 3 games I've covered so far, this game is the only one with a level that I gave a 0, and there are 2 of them, but I also can't ignore the fact that all of the other levels were at least a 5 out of 10. Honestly, I enjoyed playing through the levels, and I can't say that they are worse than the levels in Trap Team or Swap Force, so that's surprising. And yeah, the story and the writing is by far the best in the franchise, and Chaos is finally an actual character, which is something that I always wanted to see. But some of those vehicle sections were horrible, and in some cases were a huge detriment to otherwise good levels. Not to mention the fact that this game has very weak boss fights. The best bosses here would be average at best in Giants, Swap Force, and especially in Trap Team, so that's an incredible downfall. The gimmick, once again, doesn't live up to its full potential, as the vehicle sections can often be the worst parts of the level, as I've said, and the racing is just fine. Apart from the sea racing, I absolutely love that, but it can't make up for the sky races being horrible and the land races being just okay. The bonus content is pretty good, I love the daily quests, and the racing modes are enjoyable enough. My biggest problem were Buzz's Supercharger challenges. That was definitely the worst part of the entire playthrough. All those repetitive challenges for individual Skylanders and vehicles just bored me, and then on top of that I had to replay the Supercharger challenges, which were already not that great in the first place. The repetitiveness took my soul. However, I gotta give credit to the game, because it added stuff like chapters, placeable legendary treasures, and Skystone's Overdrive is pretty good in my opinion. And nice additions like being able to change paths, or getting upgrades for every new Portal Master rank, or the NPCs wearing random hats. It's all something I like. So with all of that being said, what would I rate Skylanders Superchargers? Well, I would rate it a 6 out of 10. It's actually better than I expected, and I think it's definitely debatable whether it's better than Swap Force, which is not something I expected to ever say, but here we are. But yeah, that's it for me. Once again, I need to rest. Thank you all for watching, and don't worry, Imaginator's review is up next, so be patient and you will get that too. Goodbye for now.